G'day and welcome back to the shed. And here we are again. This time I'm starting in the middle of a project. That's not my usual way of doing things. I like to start at the start and end at the end. But in this case I hadn't intended to video this. I thought it was just going to be a quick fix-up. But I changed my mind halfway through and I thought, oh well, this might be of interest to people. And what I've got here is the guts of a radiogram. Now, it's a GENALEX radiogram, and it's got a few interesting features, but it was important to me because this is the thing that started it all off for me. This was the first project I did repairing an old radio, and it's sat in the shed ever since collecting dust. I'll just show it to you. It sits here at the end of my workbench where it's sat for the last 7 or 8 years. I think it's probably 10 years since I first started on it. This used to be in our living room. But it wasn't working properly and I decided that I was going to have a go at fixing it. So that led to fixing other things, one thing led to another, and here I am fixing radios all the time. But this was the first, so it's kind of special. Now, as you can see, it's got nothing on the front, the lid lifts up. I've taken the chassis out of there and the turntable out of there. It used to be quite a nice cabinet, but things have sat on it over the years and it will need refinishing. At least the top will need refinishing, and a few little bits of veneer are lifting, so there'll be a little bit of re-gluing, but the cabinet isn't a major one. This will be simple, so I probably won't go through the cabinet with you. So here's the chassis, and it is working. 6AN7, 6N8, 6BD7, a 6M5 on the output, and a 5Y3GT as a rectifier. Now I think that socket appears to have been stuck in later, so the rectifier originally may have been something else, I don't know. Straightforward, no RF stage, one shortwave band, so it's a very simple, straightforward radio really. Now here's the underside of the chassis, and looking back at my work from years ago, yes, there are a few things I would have done differently. And I might do a little bit more work. There's some crumbly wiring here, although these are audio leads coming in from a shielded cable, and they seem to be intact, so I'm half inclined to leave them alone. I'd replace the filter caps, or so I thought. These are a pair of 10 microfarad 450 volt caps held together with a cable tie, and the same here. And at the time I thought I'd replace both filter caps. I was wrong. Turns out one of these, this one I think, is actually from the AGC line. It runs to the diode of the detector valve to ground. So it obviously filters out audio from the AGC and maintains a steady voltage. The actual filter cap, the first stage filter cap, was still in it. I hadn't changed that. I'm also looking at this here, which is the cathode bypass for the output valve, but we'll see about that. I might just clip it and see how it tests. It doesn't have much voltage on it and they're often still okay. Now here's the original first stage filter cap. It's a 10 mic 400 volt, and it was mounted on top of the chassis, grounded by just trapping the wire underneath the output transformer. This went down to a bit of scrappy wiring on top of the chassis and fed back down in. So I've tidied that up now and I've put a filter cap in here, just fitted it in here. This originally had wiring from the transformer up through this hole in the chassis, and this was sitting on top. And I don't know why I didn't look into that a little bit further, but as I said, it was early days, I was just learning. I've obviously replaced a lot of wiring in here with crappy plastic wire, which I don't like, but I'm not going to go back and do it again. And all the paper caps I had replaced with these, and they're quite alright. At that time I had never heard of Coles capacitors, and I've used whatever I could get at the local electronics shop or whatever. I'm not sure where I got these. They're obviously both 20 UF. I don't know what the original values were, probably 24. But it works fine, so I'm just going to leave them there. I'm not going to change it now, just for change's sake. When I first plugged it in after all those years, the pots had gone scratchy though, so I've given them a bit of a squirt and they're all now working fine. I did have a bit of an issue with this band switch. It worked. It's got 3 positions, short wave, medium wave and gram, which might be handy if I decide to fit Bluetooth to this. The problem was that there's a little detent in here at the front of the switch which stops it rotating further when you get to the third click. So it'd start there, go to there, go to there, and you could continue turning it round and round and round, and it would cycle through all the settings over and over again. Now I looked at that and I thought, there's a little piece broken off in there, a little detent that's somehow not working. I was looking at the amount of work involved in pulling the switch out, and I decided, no, I'm not going to fix that. I came up with what you'd have to call, I suppose, a ghetto fix instead. I'll show you what I've done. Okay, this is a cheap and dirty fix. I've put a collar on there. This is made up of an earth 240 volt power connector. Put a screw in the end of here, screwed it in good and tight, and made up this little gate for it. So it just hits the end there and won't go any further. It works. Now I had to pull the speaker out because it was too difficult to hook up the shop speaker. It does have a return from the voice coil that feeds the negative feedback, I think, for the audio. And so I took it out, plugged it in, and it scraped. Now this is a really nice speaker. This is a Jensen, covered in dust and muck from the years. Jensen Alcomax something M speaker, manufacturer Special Products Proprietary Limited, Sydney. So it's got a massive speaker transformer on it, and yeah, not sure of the value of that resistor. Body and dot, so 2, 5, and I can't see a dot on it anywhere, so I guess it's 2, so it's 2.5k. And I measured it at about 2.6, so it can stay. This really needs a clean up, but the problem was that it was scraping. Now, it certainly wasn't scraping when I left it. So I found this edge has come away. I've glued that back in. It's not too bad now. There's a slight crackle there. But the other thing I found is that where that little mark is on the inside, it was rubbing, and I couldn't stop it from rubbing. So I undid these 3 bolts here because I figured that the pole piece is connected to this central bolt. I loosened these off and just tapped it around with a block of wood just to jolt it into the center. Retightened these up, and it's a lot better now. A lot better. I think there's still some pieces of stuff in there, just the occasional tick as you move it, but it's actually pretty good. So I'm hoping that will be good enough, because I do remember this had awesome sound. It sounded amazing. So now I'm having a look at the turntable. Now this is a very early Garrard. It uses a pusher mechanism on the side here. This little square piece here engages with the rim of the record, pushes it off the step of the cymbals in the spindle, and it drops down. For 12-inch records, this backstop is the one that you use, and if you change the size to 12-inch, that slips out of the way and the record rim will sit around there. This little square thing will push the record forward off the step and it falls down. This sits down just to keep some pressure on the records. It's all a bit scummy looking, and I don't remember that I ever polished it up to any great extent. I might see if I can do something with it now. There's some corrosion around here and whatever. But it's an interesting arrangement. This one uses steel needles, and as I recall, I think you turn this way, yeah. There we go. And this is actually a new old stock cartridge that I bought on eBay back in the day. You undo this little screw, take the needle out. You'd put in a new needle every few records, I suppose. They used to recommend putting a new needle in every record for wind-up gramophones, but the stylus pressure on this is somewhat less, and so they no longer recommended that, and you could buy radiogram needles which were good for quite a few plays. Now that was all working when I left it. I hope it still is. So to take the turntable off, this just lifts out, and in fact, once you've played a stack of records, you can't just lift them off here. You have to take the spindle out, remove the records and put it back. I'll put this aside so I don't lose it, because if you lose it, nothing works. Now this turntable is very reminiscent of the type of turntable you find on a wind-up gramophone. It's got a thin rim And having a look in here, the idler wheel runs on this inside rim here. Now this idler wheel, it was hard and crunchy back in the day, and I fixed it by putting a rubber band around it, and that worked at the time. In fact, I found this video of it working. I'll just show you this.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
That was fine then. It worked for a while, but it no longer works. I have been poking at this, and the rubber on this idler wheel is just crunchy. My original rubber band is long gone, so all is not lost. A couple of years ago I saw online a belt kit for one of these. It's got the idler wheel tyre and these two little belts. Now these attach to these two pulleys here and run on the motor spindle. See, that one moves forward, it'll run on that spindle for 45 and that spindle for 33. But why would you play a 45 or a 33 RPM record on this when it has a steel needle? I can't imagine anyone doing that, and as far as I'm aware, I've never seen a 78 type shellac record made at any other speed than 78. I've never seen a 45 or a 33 in a shellac record. Anyway, I've got the belts. I'm going to put them back on and get it running, even if it's probably never going to be used. So let's get this clip off, and I wonder if I can do it with my fingers. I don't want to lose it. Yep, there we go. And we've got a washer on top with a little thing that the clip sits on. And under here we've got a little felt pad which I'll put a drop of oil in, and it's a matter of just fitting the new belt or the new tyre to it. Now this has a little bit of glue and crud around here, so I'll just give this a clean out before I put the belt on. Okay, I've cleaned that out pretty well, I think, so looks like the tyre will slip on pretty easily. I don't know if I should be using some kind of glue or whether it just goes on dry. I'll put it on dry for a start. If I have a problem with it, then I can try gluing it. That seems to be sitting okay. Looks to be pretty even. Alright, so I'll put that on there. That runs nicely. I'll just put a drop of oil on there. That'll do. That will work its way around. Let's take that off there. I don't want it getting out. Perhaps another drop on this side. There we go. Anyway, I'll put the clip on and whatever before I lose it. Pliers and keeping my finger on it so it doesn't fly off anywhere. There we go. Now these pulleys here, they seem to move okay. They're free. I would have probably lubricated them back in the day. I could perhaps put a drop of machine oil down there. I don't think, that's a little bit. Of course it doesn't matter because it'll never be used on 33 or 45, but just for the sake of it I will just give them a drop of oil. Just take this off. There we are, I'll just put it there. Yeah, it is a little bit stiff on its spindle. There we go, yeah, I'll put a little bit of isopropyl down there Okay, I'll have to dry that off before I put it in, or we'll have oil everywhere. Okay, so that's running okay now, spinning pretty freely. Now I have these two belts, they both look identical, so I guess one goes on this one and one goes on the other one, and it should just go on. Haha, that's the theory. Yes, there we go. So the motor then now turns that as it spins, and this one is pretty good, so I'll leave it alone and put its belt on as well. These little ones are fiddly to fit. There we go. So that they should both now rotate with the motor spindle, and with this on 45, this one touches. In between speeds, the idler wheel just sits on the motor spindle, and on 33 this one touches and lifts the, it doesn't quite lift it off the motor spindle. Oh yes, it does, only just, but of course it will be sitting up against the inner rim, so that will pull it up this way. Okay, well, I'll just turn it upside down and have a look at the underside. I haven't seen this for quite a few years. I do remember having a terrible time trying to work out how it worked, although this one doesn't look as bad now as some others I've done. Hopefully the grease hasn't dried out. I do remember giving it a reasonably good go over at the time. I might just put a little bit of oil on some of the moving parts, but I think it's pretty good actually. These have oil holes in them, amazingly. Alright, well, it seems to have survived pretty well. I'm going to put the turntable back on. It has this little peg which sits on this detent here, which runs the mechanism. So I'll have that pointing this way directly towards me, and the brake is in the off position, so I should be able to just drop this down, engage it with the idler wheel, and there we go. I think that is engaged. I'll just run it through and see what happens. And the end, it's going to put it back on because this is up. Alright. And it's lowering it down, and it is off. Alright, it's not terribly stable here, but I might just run a record or two through it and see how it goes. I'll just have to hang on to it and make sure it doesn't overbalance. I'll hook up a suicide cord to it and see if I can get it to go. Okay, well, I've got it plugged in. Let's put a record on it or two and just see what it does. Hopefully after all these years sitting here it will be alright. Now we want a 10-inch record, so that's the right setting for that. These will sit on here. Okay, here we go. Oh, the set down point needs adjusting. Lots of needle torque on this. Seems to run very quietly without any dramas. So that needs to come out about 10 millimeters. These are old 78s, not ones that I particularly care about. Probably should have put a new needle in if I was going to play anything good. Okay, and to take these off, take the spindle out, lift the records off and put the spindle back before you lose it. There must be a lot of these around that have lost their spindles, I would imagine. So after a bit of fiddling around and poking, I realised that the set down point adjustment is this screw here. You just poke a screwdriver through the top of the deck. I'll give it maybe a quarter of a turn to the left, see how that goes. Let's just see where it sets down now. So well, it's still a little bit far in. Okay. I'll try just a little bit more. Try that. Wonder if I can just lift this up. Well, you kind of can. Oh, it doesn't work very well, but yeah, you can. That was pretty good. Right on the edge of the record. I'll just try it one more time just to see where it went down, but I think that will be okay. Okay, so how this goes. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's about as good as it gets. So back to the chassis, and I've just been giving it a bit of a clean up, and I'm cleaning the valves, and I thought, well, good chance to try something out. I've always had problem cleaning valves. This is just dampened with water, and I'll try on a little bit of printing here. I don't know if you can see it, but say there. That isn't taking it off. Yes, it is. That's rubbing the printing straight off there. I'm not rubbing the valve type off. It's a 6N8. But I'm just going to try something. Now this is a cloth just with WD-40 on it. And I had a theory. I noticed one time that it didn't seem to take the printing off. So let's just see. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be touching it. Let's try the 6N8. I don't know how well you can see that. Doesn't take the printing off. Perhaps if you scrubbed it really hard with WD-40 it might take it off. Doesn't seem to though. It doesn't seem to dissolve it like water does. So I mean, that's something perhaps worth following up. Of course you'll want to clean the WD-40 off it. You don't want an oily surface on something that's going to get hot. You could crack it and it would go gassy. I don't know. Okay, here's another experiment. Now, start your bastard. It's starting fluid anyway. Possibly you'd get the same result with isopropyl. I'm just going to wipe it over to take the WD-40 off. In fact, this stuff might clean it quite as well. This is not, again, dissolving the lettering. Okay, I'll try again with some isopropyl. And I'll try over the brand name here, Mini Watt. And again, yeah, it's alright. Over the 6N8, that is not removing the lettering. So, from now on I'll be cleaning my valves with either Start Your Bastard, isopropyl or WD-40. So now we come to the reason why this is sat in the shed for best part of 10 years, maybe 8 years, I'm not sure. And it is this, the dial glass. It was cracked down the middle when I got it. I tried to paint parts in and repair it, glue it together. Nothing I did worked, and it collapsed inwards because the thing is mounted face up. The glass collapsed inwards and it would catch the pointer, and the thing really wasn't usable because of that. It is a pain to pull the chassis out because it's upside down, and I didn't have a solution for it, so it sat in the shed for years until recently. I contacted Michael Raanan. He's the guy that did the dial glass for the HMV I did, and it was a beautiful job, and sent him a photo of it and measurements and whatever, and he made me a new one. So where did I put it? I've probably lost it now. Hang on. So here it is. Well, not there, but in here. I have unpacked it and looked at it. Came very well packed, I've got to say. So here we are. There's a new one. It's almost identical. The grey is a slightly different colour, but it is definitely more than good enough. And that will just sit there like that, and yeah, that looks great. So I'll put it in using the original dial fixings, and all I've got to do is finish off the cabinet and then we'll put it back in. Now that sits just on the bottom there, so it's pretty safe, I think, like that. Nevertheless, I don't want to damage this, so I'll just put it aside for the moment and put it on properly. Okay, here we go. This always makes me nervous, but it should be alright. Now, that just sits there, and these little bits of felt go over the edges, I mean. Oops, okay. And I'll start by putting a clip on it like this because that'll hold it in position. There's another reason for that, and that is that there are 3 other clips just like this. The 4th one was missing, and I just used one of these clips in the 4th location, and I thought, well, I may as well. I haven't found anything better to use, so I'll just hold that there and try and push this clip on here, and there we go. Success. It's quite firmly held in there. Now I'll put a clip on here, and the last one, where's the little padding thing? There it is. These were originally rubber, but of course it went hard. I've used just some webbing, and I put that on years ago and it's still good, so I'm going to use it again. And there we go. So here we go. I'll take it off dim bulb, give it a minute to warm up. Oh, one of the dial lights is out. There we go. Gee, that dial looks nice. Michael Raanan. I'll put a link up in the description. Radio Mike. If you need a dial made, he's the guy to see. Absolutely. So.
This is a 30 music more forever classic 6IX.
6IX. Now 6IX is actually down there, but it's moved. It's now at 1080. So looking at the kilocycles around the bottom here, there's 1000, there's 1100, so it should be a little bit to the right of that, I think. So get the pointer sorted out. We'll see how WF lines up. That should be 720 ABC. 6PR is
73.
When I live
There.
we talked about reflux quite a lot tonight. We started the show with it.
That's accompanied, isn't
That
it,
will be
by
810.
some kind of habituation?
Yeah, that'll be
I mean,
810, and it's
I've spoken to people about having kind of small
again a bit to the right.
epiphanies in the everyday.
Now we should have a racing station down here somewhere.
Whispers in the air at bbcworldservice.com/documentaries or wherever you get your BBC podcasts.
Oh, that might be ABC News Radio.
I'm Anand Javatia.
So along here at 720,
Northeast part of the country, it's referred to as Isan, which is a good number of provinces in the
there's
northeast
700
speak what
right
is
there.
sometimes referred to as
720
Isan
should be
language, but
along here about
they
there.
themselves refer to it as Lao.
So
And
the needle's consistently about 5 millimetres to the right. I'm just wondering if we've got it centred properly. Hang on, the wrong knob. That goes to there. No speed dial on this one. That's it. That is fully open there. So you need to move that up a bit. I can either adjust the dial drum or I can possibly move it along on the string a little bit, at least so we can get it centered. Well, first of all, I'll mark the end point. I'll make sure that is fully opening. Yeah, I think it's not quite fully opening, and we have a problem here. Okay, this string that runs up to the pointer here, when it gets to the end, that's pretty much straight, so that really can't pull it around any further. I'm thinking the drum probably needs to be repositioned. Probably that's about the end of it. Now going back the other way, the other end of travel, we have from there to there. That string comes in here and runs around there, so it's got still a couple of inches, so this whole drum needs to be moved. So I'll put it back the other end and we'll adjust it. Okay, so I've been fiddling with it, and it now goes from 1600 kilocycles down the bottom here. That's that end of travel. It doesn't go all the way across the dial, but what was that? Oh, it just cracked all by itself. I didn't even touch it, right through the corner there. What am I going to do with this? I thought that clip was a bit tight. I mean, it was quite firmly pushing it in, but I thought it was held firmly against the steel frame. Perhaps this plate here is slightly buckled and it was putting pressure on it. That's popped upwards there, which suggests it's been pushed in further than it wanted to be. It's through the corner. The glass will come to about there and up there. It will be seen. There's nothing I can do about it. Oh, I don't know. I should have been more careful. I should have put a felt strip or something behind it, perhaps. I don't know. Let's see if I can lay it over on its back. Okay, that's kind of stable. Let's get this clip off first. This has got water transfer on the back of it, this dial glass, and it, well, luckily doesn't look like it pulled off too badly. I'll put some tape to hold it in place there. So it's still sitting up a bit there. I don't want to move it too much because I'm in danger of damaging the transfer on the back. It's pretty much flush on the front. I'll put a bit of tape there. There's not much I can do with this. I will try and glue it up with super glue, and I might see if Mike Raanan can make me another one. I'll see how bad it looks in the cabinet. Yeah, I think super glue might be the best solution in this case. It's about all I can do. It will be seen, that's inevitable, but hopefully let's see what we can do with this. Just run a line of super glue along the crack. And see if that will soak in at all. Hopefully it'll bleed into the crack a little bit. I've just soldered up one of Manuel Caldera's Bluetooth boards, and it seems to be working okay. I've tested it out. These boards have an op amp in them which boosts the signal up to compensate for the difference in sound levels between Bluetooth and, well, typically radio, in this case also the record player. Now I think he used a 20k reference resistor to provide feedback on the op amp. The higher resistor you put in, the less feedback it gets, the higher the gain. I've gone to 50k and it's still not quite the same as the radio, although it is better. Anyway, let's give it a run. I should have some music here on my phone. I don't think this will get me in trouble with copyright. You never know, of course, but I'll try it on radio.
ABC Sports coverage of the pre-season.
And switching to Bluetooth. There's still considerable volume difference. I don't know if I should go to a higher reference resistor here. The thing is with these, the higher reference resistor you put in, the less feedback it gets and the higher gain. But increasing the reference resistor doesn't give you a linear increase in gain, because the more output, the more feedback. So higher resistance, higher output, more feedback put into the resistor in the first place. So I don't know, I could maybe go to 100k. That seems like a lot. I don't want the thing to run away and blow itself up or something. I don't know if they do that, but it seems feasible. I might just try going to another higher resistance again, see if I can get the output up a little bit. It does sound good, but yeah, there's quite a difference in volume there. Okay, so I've put in an extra 50k resistor in series here. I didn't want to pull the tracks on this board around too much. They've been changed several times already. Although I'd have to say these boards, they're from PCB. They are very good. I've been able to desolder and resolder these resistors several times. It's not showing any sign of lifting or damage. And no, I'm not sponsored by PCB. But yeah, they are quite good. Anyway, I'm about to plug it in and test it, so here goes. So I've got the radio on. It's probably
the north goes to Larky at left half forward, takes the mark.
It's just the football.
70 metres from goal. They call him Suv. Nick Larky, he dishes off the handball short inside.
And going to Bluetooth. I've got an 8-year-old guitarist who is unlikely to get me in trouble with copyright. Let's see what the volume level's like when she starts actually playing. Come on, play something. Okay, so the volume level's kind of comparable, I guess. Football,
well, he was playing.
Guitar player,
Goal,
football.
half forward.
I probably could have found something a bit louder. Anyway, I think that's good enough. I'm not going to go messing with this any further. Now the other thing is I have done an IF alignment on this. I didn't show it because it's just too hard. I don't have a dummy load conveniently set up for this speaker and it's noisy, and I'm sure you've seen it all before. It wasn't too far out anyway, I didn't get much out of it. So I guess it's time for this lot to go back in its cabinet. I have given them the cabinet a once over. It's come up pretty well, didn't need a lot of work, so I haven't shown anything much of that. But let's take it outside and get started on it. I've got the top screws in, hopefully holding it in the right position. So this is quite a good old speaker. Seem to have cleared the stuff out of the voice coil. I haven't heard any noises from it while I've been playing it, and the cone seems to move freely. Has a very small gap between the voice coil and the pole piece. Just have to make sure that's evenly tightened. Now that's the easy bit. Now we get the chassis in, and of course because it's mounted upside down up in here, it's a bit of a pain to get in, so I'll have to lay the cabinet down on its front. So here goes. Oops, don't stick to the speaker. It's very tight. Very tight. Get this cord and the Bluetooth module out of the way. And of course, I don't want to do any further damage to the glass. I'll just push it forward until it's just nicely touching the front. Let's see how that looks from in front. Yep, that looks all right. Trouble is the screws don't line up here very well. Let's just see. Oops. If I can see where they went. Let's take that out. It's the turntable plinth, and I forgot I hadn't screwed it in. So using my magic split screwdriver, I'll see if I can get the first screw in. That is kind of started. Okay, second screw, and I'll do the one on the left because I'm here. And it slides. Oops, I've dropped it. Oh. And the aerial wire runs down there and the screw is pinching it. I'll have to pull that out of the way. Yeah, it'll have to come out again. Well, the chassis is in, the knobs are on, and everything seems to work all right. Tuning works, there's nothing dragging. That crack, of course, is visible. There's not much more I can do about that. It's not that noticeable, so I don't think I'll go and get another glass made for it. I'll just have to live with it. Okay, so time to put the deck back in, and this sits on 4 springs which are mounted in the cabinet. It's an unusual setup. Perhaps they hadn't come up with the sort of arrangements they used later at this stage. I have to get the 4 screws in the holes. There we go. Well, here we go. I've got it all hooked up except for the Bluetooth, and
Circuit last night, Skeets. I'm glad he's got here as well. But
the radio's working fine, but we knew that. I'll put it on Graham. Let's just put a record on and see how she goes. This should not get me into trouble with copyright, but you never know. well, it's kind of coming through, but there's no volume, or not much. That's out. That's full bore. That should be blasting. There's something not right here. I'll just reject that. Well, yep, that's fine. I've checked continuity of the cables all the way through to the phono input, and there's nothing wrong there. There's no shorts or anything between them either. There's nothing else in the circuit really. I'm just disconnecting these leads. Well, I did disconnect them and check between them. There's nothing wrong there, and with it on, we're getting a good healthy grid hum there. Not enormous, but it should be plenty. Considering the cartridge is in circuit, it'd probably be better without it. I'm worried about this cartridge now. It does make some noise, but not much. I mean, considering that this is maximum volume. Now, this was a new, or I presume new old stock cartridge that I bought, well, I guess it's a few years ago now when I first did this up, and it used to work really well. The original one had it, but this one was great, so I'll be really disappointed if this has just gone bad while sitting in the shed doing nothing. It's been in the cabinet, in the tone arm, protected the whole time. It hasn't been banged or knocked or anything. I don't know.
On the behind line, Tracy trying to go back, was knocked away by May.
Well, nothing but footy on the radio. I've got the Bluetooth hooked up now, so let's give that a go.
I believe, but they updated it. There it is.
Better not play too much of that. But it's obviously working, and we've got good volume level. In fact, it comes in way over the radio. But of course, at the moment, the radio's just working on a little bit of wire hanging off out of the aerial. It doesn't have a proper aerial on it at all, so we won't be getting reception as normal. So, okay, the Bluetooth's certainly powering in, so there's nothing wrong with the input. Our problem is, I guess, with this cartridge. Oh well, let's just take it out and have a look. I don't suppose there's anything fixable about these. Most likely the crystal is gone. Might be a case of seeing what else I can put in it, but I'll have a go at it. Nothing to lose really, is there? I had a look through the shed and I found the original one in the container that this came in. ACOS comes in I guess it's an aluminium can. I guess this was new old stock, I don't know. It's got the number there on it, but my chances of finding another one are pretty minimal. So here's the original cartridge. I don't quite remember what was wrong with it. It's not identical to this, but it's very similar. Just notice printed on the can here, important, temperatures in excess of 45 degrees Celsius will damage or destroy the crystal. Well, I could have gotten over that in the shed, and it's been there for a few years. Oh, that one's turning. What a pain. I'll try this one. I really don't hold out much hope of fixing this, but more a matter of curiosity. Yep. So let's see what's inside. Okay, I'll try that. Oh. Yeah, that is cactus. I'm amazed it produced any sound at all. I don't suppose you can get a replacement crystal for them. Okay, well, I've been considering my options here. I have this Raanan cartridge left over from another project. Not the world's most wonderful cartridge, but it does fit in the head shell. The spacing's okay. Stylus position is going to be about right. I don't know about the weight, but that's one possibility. It will have a much lower output than the old one. These old things put out about 5 volts peak to peak. They really kicked it out. This won't do anything like that, so that would mean building up some kind of a preamp, I would imagine, to run it through. I could possibly do that taking the power supply from the Bluetooth board, which is already there. I don't know. Quite a few possibilities there. Another possibility is changing the entire deck. Now, I do have this Garrard AT6, which I picked up recently for a good price. It doesn't seem to have anything much wrong with it, but it would need a full service. I do like these though. I'm not sure how well it would go in this cabinet. It's a little bit modern for it, really. And besides, I had this earmarked for something else. I was going to put it in my radiogram in the living room that I used to play mainly 78s on, but 45s and things occasionally too. It has an RC110 in it. Rather nice old changer. Little bit heavy on vinyl records though, but I think it would fit very nicely into this cabinet at kind of the right period for it. It wouldn't look out of place. And then I could maybe do something with this changer. I may find another cartridge for it, an original one. I don't really want to fit a turnover cartridge to this for a start. I don't think this changer is ideally suited to playing vinyl records at all. It does have the speed change on it, which seems to be a bit of an anomaly. I did find a service data booklet on Kevin Chant's website for this changer, but the model that shows does not have the speed change option. It has switched from 10 to 12 inch records, and that's it. So this must have been a variant of the original. They also apparently came with different head shells here, but I don't really think this is very suitable for playing vinyl records. I certainly wouldn't put mine on it. It is a beautiful deck for playing 78s, I'll say that. So there we go. It's a bit of a conundrum really. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but this video's gone on quite a while already, and it's pretty clear I'm not going to get this finished in a reasonable time to get the video out. So I'm going to end it here, and I'll come back very soon and let you know what I've decided to do with this thing. So thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this messy video, and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.